Hello, everyone, and then welcome to another session of the WAIMM webinar series. Today, we happy to have Associate Professor James Dankwah, the head of Minerals Department at the UMaT. Prof holds a PhD in material science and also an MSc in process metallurgy. He's actually a friend of the WAIMM Young Professionals. He's been to every annual conference of the WAIMM Young Professional, always giving them something to take home with more innovations. And I think today Prof is going to give us one of his latest series. He's actually specialized in ferrous metal processing and electrochemistry. He hates everything that goes to waste. So we will push on to Prof soon, but then there are some few ground rules I want us to observe as always. In case you have any question, you just put it on in the Q&A session. Don't interrupt the lecture. After the lecture, there will be a session for questions. So, Prof, if you're ready, take it away.
Thank you very much. President WAIMM, Mr. Lawrence Wariminsa. Yeah, once again, it is time to share ideas and then to have conversation. Everything aimed at pushing our dear country, Ghana, forward. Like we do it always, the discussion is meant to be a friendly one, an informal one. We do the discussions, and then at the end of it all, I will pause for questions, suggestions, so that together we can move Ghana forward. Today's presentation, I have several slides that I'll be sharing. So with your permission, I'll be doing a bit of navigation, moving from one slide to the other. Now, we're supposed to talk on production of liquid fuel from waste plastics. And the question we're asking ourselves is whether this is a distraction or a reality. Production of liquid fuel from waste plastics, a distraction or a reality. The outline is meant to address some set of questions that were sent to participants. I have added a few, and at the end of it, I hope that we'll be able to find an answer to these questions. Now, the first question that I want to ask is, why should I be bothered, or why should I bother about plastic waste? We have several wastes, organic waste, paper waste. So why is it that we are making too much noise about plastic waste? Then we'll move on to what is the way forward for plastic waste management? What is the way forward for plastic waste management? Then, is there a possibility of exploring plastic waste to benefit society? Is there a possibility of exploring plastic waste to benefit society? Then we'll move on to the whole idea of liquid fuel production from plastic waste. Is it a reality, or is just noise that we keep making as usual, something that we do in the lab, and then it's going to end up in the lab without seeing the light of the day? Then together we'll try and then make some conclusions and also acknowledgements. Why is plastic waste an issue? So ask this question, and this question is to all of us. Why is plastic waste an issue? Now let's take a look at what we see on the screen, which I am sure a lot of you participants would have come across this one way or the other. In Ghana, our fishermen, most of them have been fishing for ages. Most of them, the only profession they know is fishing and nothing else. Just like if you were to go to my village in the eastern region, the profession there for most of the inhabitants there will be to go to their farm and then do their own thing, come back home. Those are the coastal areas. The major occupation there for the fisher folk is to go to sea and then fish, do their fishing. Now, these days, regrettably, they go to sea with an aim to catch fish. Let me put it bluntly. They catch their nest, and the next thing they see is that instead of catching fish, they are catching a lot of plastic waste. A lot of plastic waste. So the picture, as you see over there, will show you the stage that globally we have reached. It is more or less a messy situation, so to speak. A messy situation, so to speak. You go to the sea, and then you see that every day in the morning, you are confronted with a scenario on the top left figure that you see there. A lot of plastic debris. How did these plastics get into the ocean in the first place? How did these plastics get into the ocean in the first place? You go to a landfill site, and that is what you see, the scenario that you observe over there. Let me just do a bit of annotation. So landfill site, that's what I see. This on a landfill site. It's almost completely overtaken by nothing but plastic waste. As an organic waste that we dump there, with time, everything will undergo decomposition. So that is usually not an issue. But any typical landfill site, especially those that are well managed, you see nothing but something of this nature. Okay. Then we have our trucks. They pick our garbage as usual. And then they get to the landfill site. That's the scenario we see. Landfill site, that's the scenario we see. I've seen Oliver Ampere has raised his hand. Now, the other time I asked a question, where are our vultures? Our vulture, those scavenging birds, let me not use the word ugly, but those scavenging birds that we used to see several years ago when we were kids, where are they now? Is it that they've been consumed by people that will maybe hunt for them and then turn them into other forms of meat or whatever? But these days, you don't see a lot of this vulture. What is happening? You take a look critically and then you see what is happening. So, we need to worry. We need to worry about plastic waste. And as you can see from the figure, we cannot do otherwise. We can't do otherwise. We need to bother about the plastic waste that we generate. Now, from the year 1950, when just a small amount of plastic waste, plastic was produced, Now, currently, if you take a look at the plastic waste that is generated, in the year 2011, the plastic waste that was generated globally, I think, exceeded 100 million tons. As we speak, we are now around about 300 million tons every year. 300 million tons every year. Now, where are these plastic waste getting into? Where are they? I mean, is it that we produce them and then they disappear? Before the year 2018, uh, the impression was created that people are doing serious recycling. In fact, as at the time I was leaving Australia in the year 2012, for example, at least from what was happening in our research group, data by PACIA, P-A-C-I-A, data by PACIA, because I was using classes for my PhD, I followed that data from 2007 through to 2012 when I finished. And then when I got to Ghana, I still followed the data from PACIA. Now, it showed an increasing trend in recycling rates as far as plastic waste was concerned. When I got to Australia in 2008, I saw a recycling rate in Australia around anything between 7 and 9%. By the time I was leaving, I was told by PACIA that the recycling rate was around 21%. Now, that scenario was typical of all the advanced countries, I mean, the Western world, the US, the European Union, and all the other countries that you can think of. That was before the year 2018. Then in November 2017, something happened. China made a pronouncement that shook the world. Now, the simple pronouncement was that we are not going to take any plastic waste from any country. And I think they gave up to February 2018 for that to take effect. Now, this set the whole world panicking. It set the world in a panicky situation because what was happening then, the so-called recycling rate that we were being told up to about 21% appeared to be that plastics were just packed, placed in cargo ships, and then everything will be shipped to China and Southeast Asia, countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, and so on and so forth. So when they said no, then the world, it was like somebody blowing some air and everybody catching fever. Then I went back to the PACIA recycling results again. And something striking, I saw something striking in the report that they put forward. From a recycling rate of about 21%, I saw that it has dropped significantly from 21% to about, I think, 7 or 9%. So I asked myself, what happened? Is it that we were recycling the plastics, or we were just packaging and then shipping everything to China and then the rest of the countries in Southeast Asia? We have gotten to a situation where currently globally, the plastic waste that are recycled, if you were to ask me, I don't think the value will exceed 10%. In Ghana, even though we have plastic pickers who pick plastics and they're able to pick a lot of the plastic waste, in terms of recycling, I don't think we are doing anything more than 5%. So then, what is the way forward? What is the way forward? You go to the oceans, you move to the oceans, and at certain points in the ocean, you see what appears to be what they describe as a soup or a plastic soup. So you have the ocean, waters in the ocean just swirling around, and you see debris of microplastics giving a semblance of soup being prepared. And your fishes will probably be the microplastics that you see. So it is a very serious situation. It is a very serious situation. It is believed that if the way we treat plastics continues, if our current way of managing plastics or dealing with plastics continue, then by the year 2050, globally, we're going to have more plastics in the oceans than we have fish by the year 2050. And I want to believe that if you're not careful, we may not get to the year 2050 before we get to that situation. Now, the figures you see here was a whale that was captured, a dead whale, and then when it was examined, contained a lot of plastic debris. Recently, I read about a camel on a desert somewhere in one of the Gulf countries. Camel got there, it became dead, and then doing an autopsy on the camel, they saw several plastic in the stomach of the camel. So our plastics they are currently a danger not only to marine life, but even to life on land, terrestrial life. It is a very serious problem that we need to solve. Are we safe? Are we safe? Now, what is the way forward for plastic waste management? What is the way forward for plastic waste management? I am going to ask a question. I am going to ask a question, and then I hope that at the end of this lecture, I will have answers ready, which I believe, if you're able to answer this question, putting all the convenience that we need aside, we should be doing something towards reducing the level of plastic waste that we have. Let's face it, plastic materials are very convenient to use. They are popular. Its production is cheap. In fact, to produce the same amount of plastics, we have heard stories about people saying that, why don't you go for paper? We use paper rather than using plastics. It has been estimated that to produce the same amount of paper, for example, if I want to produce 20 tons of plastics and 20 tons of paper, I will probably spend about 20 times on creating items using paper than if I were to use plastic to create the same item. So in terms of cost, in terms of convenience, plastic will continue to be a choice if we were to compare to other packaging materials. But let me ask this question. We've all at a point in time attended parties, funerals, recreational activities before. And I think we've all been served with these takeaway containers, these styrofoam cups. We've been to, if you are like me and then you love yogurt so much, I buy yogurt and then it's placed in cups for me. Now, if I take my styrofoam or I take my the container over here that is made of polystyrene. Supposing I go to a party and then this is given to me, maybe it contains granules, fried granules. Now, after taking this home, if I consume the granules, I might going to throw this away. Or let me ask myself the question, is it possible that after taking the granules, I can take this plastic once again and then use it for something else? Even if I don't want to use it indefinitely, once the granule was placed in, I decided to use it maybe about 2 or 3 times before I throw it away. I'll be cutting down the, waste that I will generate by about a third. In the same way, in the year 2017, 2018, I went to Kumasi. They have a yogurt spot at KNUS near the commercial area. I purchased some yogurt. They were placing some yogurt taps for me. After consuming, I brought them home, and after consuming, I continued to use the cups for at least 1 month before I threw them away. If we care, in fact, if we indeed care for the environment that we live in, are we ready to think of reusing some of these materials after they have served the purpose to which they were supposed to serve. Can we, for example, take away food container here, if it doesn't contain oil food, but maybe granite, anything that will not contaminate the plastics, can we, in your sincerity, say that we want to use these plastics maybe 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5 times before we discard them? This is a question that I want to throw to you. At the end of the lecture, I will see whether we can think of reusing. Now, sometimes it is not possible to reuse. It is not possible to reuse. But where we cannot reuse, we can reduce. For example, if I take sachet, buy sachet water, and then I drink a cut, I consume the water, the sachet that is left, am I ready to throw it away? Maybe if I need to use it to contain, to take water again, it will be difficult. But then that sachet can be used for something else. That sachet can be used for something else. I go to my packaging. This is made of to the extreme right, and then top at the bottom corner. This is polystyrene, which is used in packaging when you buy your fridges, your TVs, and so on and so forth. You are given this. Can we reduce its usage? Is it possible to reduce its usage? These are some of the questions we may have to ask ourselves if we think we want to rid the world of our plastic waste. What is the way forward? Again, I'm continuing. We have learned, or we have just had a discussion, the menace that plastics can cause. But sometimes you talk about plastics, I come up with an innovation. The first thing that you hear is that look for investors. Most people talk about looking for foreign investors. I want to say that governments must find the money to invest in research in plastic waste management. I don't think it will be fair if you think that if you want to manage plastic waste, we need money from somewhere to manage that plastic waste. We need to find the money to invest in research in plastic waste management. It is very, very critical and it is very important. As we move forward, you may probably understand why I am making the first bullet point. It is critical. We need to find the money. I know that we have some levies that have been placed on these plastic producers and the like. And that money was meant to to assist in managing the plastic waste and the like. In our attempt to manage plastic waste, I think we cannot do away with R&D. So this is something that we need to think about. Then I also say that source separation must begin at home. Source separation must begin at home. The moment a plastic material leaves your home, it is gone for good. You can't do anything to it again because it will become contaminated. And dealing with contaminated waste, I think we all know why I would not want to go and touch plastics that has been done by somebody. So we need to do some source separation, and this must begin at home. Charity begins at home. Awareness creation. Now, most of the times when we talk about creating awareness in order to minimize plastic waste, the impression that is created is that it is as if it is only, excuse my language, our unelected or our illiterate brothers at home in the villages who don't understand the meaning, the dangers that plastic will pose. The plastic we throw away will not disappear from this planet. They will choke gutters. And if you think they are disappearing, they are only going to end up in the oceans. We need to think about the way we deal with our plastics. Our single-use plastics who said they can be used only once and dumped? Who said plastics can be used only once? Because we have coined the nice term for it, single-use plastics. But sometimes you can use them several times before we throw the plastics away. Of course, the producers may complain because if you use them several times, it means the demand will also go down. Now, is there a possibility for exploring plastic waste to benefit society? Is there a possibility for exploring plastic waste to benefit society? What is done currently? What is it that we do currently? The first thing that we do currently to manage plastic waste so that we can use it, make it beneficial to society. What happens currently is mechanical recycling, where plastic waste are converted from one form to the other. In fact, if you come to Ghana, the situation in Ghana currently, the main recycling that we do in Ghana is that of mechanical recycling, where you see some guys going around, they pick all plastic materials, they sell to some producers who melt the plastics. If you have your extruders, that these plastics are extruded and then sold to other companies who change these plastics from one form to the other. Now, in terms of mechanical recycling, there is a challenge. For example, if I take one plastic material, there is a limit to which I can recycle this plastic material. Usually, after the second or third time, you can no longer do mechanical recycling. And so mechanical recycling has a limitation. So if you're in a country where our major source of recycling is mechanical recycling, then we are only delaying the plastic generation rate. That is good, so to speak, but then it will not take the plastics away. When you convert your plastic from one form to the other, that other form will one day get to, it also get to its end of life. And at that point, you need something to take everything away so that you can have the plastics not being available. Another thing that is currently being done is composites, where we have plastics being mixed with other materials like sand, like biomass, to create sand plastic composites. Our plastic tiles, pavement blocks, and so on and so forth is currently also gaining attention. And UMaT, we are currently into this kind of research currently. Then one sure way that we can manage our plastic waste, or we can just deal with this plastic waste to benefit society, is in metals production. I have talked about this before, but I want to make this point once again. Metals production alone can consume all the plastic waste in the world. Metals production alone can consume all the plastic waste that we have in the world. I did my PhD thesis in metals production. I used waste plastics as reducing agents in place of metallurgical coal, graphite, and so on and so forth. And I was able to produce a lot of metals. This is a technology that I joined an Australian group that we're able to do. I want to make this assertion once again that metals production, for example, currently Ghana, we are producing our iron, our steel, our iron and steel technology, the GIIS, the GIIS DEC, where we have our iron and steel making corporation that has been set up. That corporation alone, if we are serious in wanting to use plastics as a raw material, as a feedstock for the process, it can consume all the plastics that we have in Ghana. And this is a technology that, if we are serious about it, we can even sublet it to the rest of the countries in the sub-region. Then we can also use plastics in liquid fuel production. We can use plastics in liquid fuel production. We can use plastics in liquid fuel production. At this stage, then I want to go to the theme for the day. liquid fuel production from plastic waste. Is it a distraction or a reality? Liquid fuel production from plastic waste. Is it a distraction or a reality? Now, to answer this question, we may have to ask ourselves how plastics are produced, how plastic materials are produced, how plastic materials are produced. Now, globally, about 4% of the crude oil that is produced annually is used in producing plastic materials in a process known as polymerization. So every plastic that you see, there is a chance that it came from crude oil that we produce in this world. And the plastic production alone accounts for about 4% of crude oil production. Now, the implication then is that if I have any plastic material, and then when the plastic material gets to its end of life, and I throw this plastic material away, I am throwing something that potentially contains chemically energy that was derived from the precursor material, the crude oil. If plastics are produced from crude oil in the process of polymerization, then is it possible that we can think about the reverse process? Is it possible that we can think about the reverse process? That of depolymerizing the plastics so that we can get the original materials that were used in producing the plastics. That is the technology upon which our process is based on. We do what is known as depolymerization. We do what is known as depolymerization. And in so doing, by means of suitable catalysts that we generate in our country, Ghana, we can turn our plastic waste back into fuel. We can turn our plastic waste back into fuel to benefit society. I am going to end this slide here, and then I will move to our plastic generation, our fuel production technology. I think I might have shown this a few times before, but with your permission, let me go away and then move to a moment. I'll show the previous how we started with the whole thing, and then the stage that we have reached currently. This was something that we did in 2015. And as you can see, we used pure water sachet to do this. That was the first time we started with this work in 2015, 2016. So all we're doing is that you take your sachet, place your sachet in a reactor, and then you have your catalyst. Then you have your catalyst. Now, the choice of catalyst is critical because you want to produce a fuel that is as clean as possible. You want to produce a fuel that is as clean as possible. So the choice of a catalyst is very, very important. Yeah, maybe one more time, and then you see that the next time you throw your sachet away, remember that your sachet is not a waste material. Yes, you would have consumed the water in the sachet. You would have consumed the water in the sachet. But as far as the water is concerned, your sachet will have come to its end of life when you consume all the water. After consuming the water, the sachet that is left is not a waste material. It will have come to its end of life, but it's not a waste material. It is therefore ready. Your sachet is ready for use or to serve another purpose. And that purpose, as I can show you over here, several purposes. We have used sachet in metals production. We have used sachet in upgrading the Awasi bauxite. We have used sachet in lightweight brick making. We have used sachet in sand plastics composites. It can be used in fuel making as well. Right? One moment, please. So this is still, I hope, can you see my screen, please? Are you able to see my screen, please?
Yeah, Prof, go ahead.
So you're able to see the screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. This was way back in, the first one was in 2015, 2016. This was in 2018, 2018. So by the use of appropriate catalyst, you can directly change your waste plastics to liquid fuel, and it is a very simple process. But the trick lies in the catalyst that you need to use to do this way. In 2014, 2015, we were able to generate 0.4 liters, 0.4 liters from a kilogram of plastic waste that we use for the process. We have so far been able to improve upon the process. And as we speak currently, as of 2018, we're able to double the yield from 0.4 liters to 0.8 liters per kilogram. As we speak, we are currently in the more than 0.9. We have produced 1.0, 1.01, 1.02 liters per kilogram before. You may be wondering how I can get 1 liter from a kilogram. Well, this is because the density of plastics is lower than that of water. Okay, so if I take 1 kilogram of plastics, I can get, because its density is less than 1, its specific gravity is less than 1, I can produce more than 1 liter of fuel from a kilogram of plastics. Now, if we were to translate this, it means that if I were to take a thousand, a thousand kilograms or 1 ton of plastic waste, I am in a position to produce 1,000 liters. I'm in a position to produce about 1,000 liters of the fuel from the plastic waste. I'm in a position to produce about 1,000 liters or more from a kilogram of plastic that is utilized for the process. So these were the basic laboratory work that we did. As we speak now, we have something far bigger than this. Our worry initially was that, sometimes if you want to scale up, so you start from the lab. We use a very small reactor, the size of which was about a third or a quarter of this, and then work. Our worry was that, so if I were to scale it up, in other words, if I move from about the size that I was using, that I showed you previously, to a size that is about four times what I was using previously, is it going to affect the yield? We were thinking that because we are now operating at a large scale, the yield should go down for obvious reasons. Now, strangely, even though the size increased by about 4 times, we have been able since 2016 to increase the yield, or more than double the yield from 0.4 liters per kilogram to about 1.02 liters per kilogram. So this is the stage we find ourselves. The stage we find ourselves is where every kilogram, every ton of plastic waste that we utilize for the process, we can get more than 1,000 liters of liquid fuel. And if I say liquid fuel, I'm talking about clean liquid fuel. At the end of the process, if you were to examine the reactor, sometimes we see nothing at all as far as solid waste is concerned. And if you look at the gas emissions, just minor amount of gas emission, because we did the mass balancing for or the material balancing, and then you saw that we are converting almost every plastics into the liquid fuel, leaving out just the uncondensable, what we call the C1 to C4, just a fraction. In fact, sometimes it's less than even 4%. Now, at this stage, let me show you a bit of the results that we have. At this stage, let me show you a bit of the results that we have. Let me show you a bit of the results that we have currently from our MSc MPhil student. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah, this is the nature of the fuel that we produce. The first one to the extreme left was produced from high density polyethylene. Now, by high density polyethylene, I'm talking of plastics like your sachet. Your sachet is a typical example. The pomade containers. When you buy any pomade, you go to Melcom or whatever, you buy your pomade that you use, the oil, whatever. All the containers are made of high density polyethylene. Now these days, the corks, if you buy a plastic material, the caps on the plastic material, previously they were made of polypropylene. These days, the caps, most of the caps are made of high density polyethylene, HDPE. So your sachet, your milk bottles, you go to the Western countries, they sell their milk bottles in white containers. Let me just show you one. One moment. Yeah, if you can see, this is high density polyethylene. Originally contained hand sanitizer. So all these are ready for use in producing liquid fuel. Then this is liquid fuel that was obtained from polypropylene, PP. This was liquid fuel that was obtained from polypropylene, PP. Your buckets, your plastic chairs, your garbage containers, your margarine tubs. So here Nestle and Co, their margarine tubs and then the like, all those things can be used in producing liquid fuel. Then this was also produced from polystyrene. So your styrofoams that you take away food containers and so on and so forth, they can all be used in producing liquid fuel. They can all be used in producing liquid fuel. Yeah, so in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, fuel production from liquid fuel production from waste plastics, it is indeed a reality. It's not a distraction. We have started, we have moved into, or got to the stage, we started in 2014. It's been a very long period of research. I have heard several questions about why are you wasting time? Somebody will take your technology away. Well, my answer is simple. I will move when the time is ready. I need to seal all loopholes. My research team, they are there. I'm sure they are all watching me. We started in 2014. We are currently in 2021. So that has been about 7 years of intensive research. We have sealed, as we speak, we have sealed all the loopholes. We know the plastics to use. We can predict the yield. Any plastic that I take, I can predict the yield without even doing the work. In terms of making the fuel as clean as possible, if you can see on the screen, the fuel that you see on this screen were not filtered. They didn't go through any filtration at all, because if you want to do filtration, sometimes you also have to spend a lot of money in doing filtration. So by careful selection, a careful choice of catalyst, the use of catalyst, and intensive research, we have spent a lot and we have invested a lot of time into this. I can assure you that the process of converting waste plastics into liquid fuel is not a hoax. It is not a distraction. It is not just a dream on paper, it is a reality. And we are ready to take off. Now that we have sealed all the loopholes, and then we are currently in talks with colleagues, we hope that in the next, I'm not going to say next year, in the next couple of months, we are going to move into commercialization. We are going to move into commercialization. So the question has been answered. It is not a distraction, it is a reality. It is not a distraction, it is a reality. And I am impressed by the quality of the fuel. It's clean. We have done the let me just show you a GC analysis. We've done FTIR analysis, and everything is in the liquid fuel range, as in the diesel range of liquid fuel. This GC analysis, we did FTIR analysis, and we are convinced because it matched the peaks or the spectrum or the spectra. They match exactly with that of our conventional liquid fuels that are sold on the market. So liquid fuel production from waste plastics is not a distraction, it is a reality. At this stage, I want to acknowledge my fellow researchers in this research. We started off at a small, just we thought we were just joking, but fortunately we have been able to get to this far. I want to acknowledge all of them. I am grateful to the Vice Chancellor of UMaT for the support that we have received as a team so far. We are ready to move move Ghana to the next level. I am looking at a situation where we get to a point where we will recycle all our plastics, and then maybe we charge our neighboring countries, we charge them and then take their plastics. So they have to pay us for us to take their plastics so that we can together move Ghana forward. I want to thank you all, and then I realize that time is fast spent, so I don't want to take much more time. Thank you very much.